Hey there, welcome back. There's our symbol map using park centroids. Now let's play one more time, or not one more time, I should just stop saying this because this is going to go on and on and on for the next 16 weeks, or however many we've got left. Let's play with park boundaries. So the centroid gives us a dot at the central location of each park, right? So, this is roughly the middle of Redwood National Park. This is roughly the middle of North Cascades National Park. This is roughly the middle of Isle Royale National Park. Let's make a new sheet, and we're going to call this one boundaries, or just boundary. Boundaries are cool because it shows us the actual park boundary. Double click and check it out. We can see the size and the location of each of these parks. And like it was before when we opened the centroids, it wasn't attached to our names. So let's drag both park name into detail. Crater Lake, Lassen, and we should be at the spot where anything that doesn't have, all of these should be, because we already have filtered, we shouldn't have any that we're missing a name on, but I'm scrolling over just to make sure. It's easier to identify little hiccups with the data before you start rather than after. So now we've got our geographies mapped. This view is fantastic if you can zoom. Otherwise, it's pretty hard. The first time I looked at these park boundaries on a map, I thought, wow, we really don't have that many national parks. I sort of thought they were vast and endless, and if we look at the centroids, it does seem that they're sort of everywhere, but when we look at the boundaries, they're really quite small, with the exception of maybe Alaska, where they take up a lot of land mass. To make the boundaries map well, you've really got to zoom in. So to start that, or to get that rolling, let's bring over the filters that we have on our centroid map, because we already have our year filter, our region filter, and our state filter. So let's bring these over. We're going to apply this. We're going to add boundary to selected worksheets. We're going to add region to selected worksheets. We're going to add boundary to region. And then we're going to add the state filter to selected worksheets. We'll add that to boundary. And then on the boundary tab, we're going to show all of these. Show, show, show. Multiple values drop down, multiple values drop down, multiple values drop down. Okay, that's sort of our housekeeping here. So let's, for instance, zoom in rather than looking at all states. Let's take a look at Washington. And it's centering around all the parks in Washington, so we can really see where they are. This map, I like it because we could, there's Olympic National Park, there's North Cascades, there's Mount Rainier, and we've zoomed in on the 3 national parks in Washington state. If we scroll to the top, we've got this map option. And let's see, with background maps here, what if we look at the streets? What if we add streets? Is that maybe too much? The parks don't pop anymore? Well, let's go to background layers and wash out that background map. So now we can see the terrain of Washington. We can see the road network. We can see the location of major cities, Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia. And we can imagine now how we would maybe get from one of these cities to one of these parks. Let's look at all states. And it doesn't really, changing our map didn't really mess up this view. What if we take a look at Colorado? There are our parks. What if we zoom into California? I'm okay with this. All right. So now that we can see the geographic boundaries of the park, Death Valley is huge. Let's decide what we want to look at. One thing that we could do would be to take advantage of our parameter and our parameter variable so that we could change the way these present based on the variable we want to select. So let's do that. We'll want to show our parameter. And then for our variable that we'll place in color, we choose our calculated field variable. And now the darker the area, the more backcountry campers. So let's see. It's not showing up here, which I want it to. But let's adjust our tooltip here because it's just going to say variable. So instead of saying variable, we want it to say parameters, select a variable. And now it will say, oh, backcountry campers, 103,997. And let's make this a little bit more relevant by adding year to tooltip. And adding the attribute of year. In the tooltip, the label year has been unbolded and shown in a dark gray. And so I'm going to hold on to that convention. There we go. And I'm going to tab over the values so that they all line up. And then let's put year above the number of backcountry campers. Okay, so in 2023, Channel Islands had no backcountry campers. No, sorry, Channel Islands, I knew that couldn't be right, has 23,000 backcountry campers. Did you notice for year I just used this number year? I'm fine with that. It makes it a little bit simplified, but I do want to change the format to remove that comma because we don't use commas when we should to separate the thousands when we're looking at dates. So in year, drop down, default properties, number format, number custom, no decimals, include thousand separator, uncheck. Okay, so now we've been using the color palette for temperature diverging. We'll use the full color range. Just going to sort of stick with that. And did you see that the opacity here is 80%? We could leave it. We could experiment with placing borders around these parks, which is not so important when the parks are large, but could be important when the parks are small. Okay, so I'm feeling satisfied. So that is what the boundary geometry will show. Let's change this title because now we've got this new variable. And we will say number of backcountry campers to national parks in 2023. Great. Now from our drop down, we can select whatever we want. Tent campers. Lots of people go in tents to Joshua Tree. We can see where there's concession or lodging if you want a flash place to say. It looks like Yosemite's your bet. What about concession or camping? Pinnacles. RV campers, destination Yosemite. Yosemite is a popular park, so are Death Valley and Joshua Tree. And then let's take a look at total overnight stays. So where do people go to spend the night? So while a lot of people visit Kings Canyon and Sequoia, Yosemite is really the leader. We can explore this. We don't need to stay just in California. We could take a look at Texas. Oh, why is that not showing? This is how you find out there's... Oh, there we go. It was just that my map was fixed. I'll back out just a little bit, and we can see that in the Great State of Texas, there are only 2 national parks, Guadalupe Mountains and Big Bend, which had 144,000 overnight stays in 2023. Okay, I'm going to leave us looking at the lower 48. I'm going to save, and I will see you in the next video.